New polling out from Emerson College says, surprise, surprise, people still think that despite everything that has happened in the last couple of months, Donald Trump is still going to win the presidency in November. And really, when you look at these stats about how excited people are to support their candidate for president, it's really no surprise. We've got, if we look at the extremely excited category, 36% of Trump supporters are extremely excited to vote for him, compared to 22% for Biden. Under very excited, we've got 28% Trump, 23% Biden. But Biden, man, Biden's really taking home those mildly excited or not excited at all categories. In fact, 26% of Biden supporters say they just don't really care. They don't really care. And frankly, there's another interesting thing this poll found as well. 65% of those who voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary said that they're really not excited to vote for Biden at all. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Joe Biden is not an exciting candidate. And we all could have seen this coming about a mile and a half away. But we all probably know, too, that listen, what's the likelihood that Biden is actually going to be the candidate in November? Biden is facing obvious issues surrounding his mental decline. I personally think he probably has dementia. I don't say that as a good thing. I don't say that to celebrate. I think it is honestly one of the saddest things I've ever seen, to see the party parading Biden around as though he's a normal nominee when the dude can barely speak. I mean, it is so sad to me. And I thought this when I saw him in the New Hampshire primary in person. He never said anything that makes sense. He was always slurring his words. He was always making crazy mistakes and not doing anything remotely resembling a stump speech. It was crazy to watch him here, and that's why he probably didn't do very well here. But he's the nominee the party wanted, at least for right now. But listen, they do have other options, don't they? Like Hillary Clinton. I just don't know. I don't know when these people are going to learn their lesson. So there seems to be a little bit of a flurry, at least on the Hill, about a possible Clinton candidacy. So we're going to look at a couple articles surrounding that. We're going to look at this one and another one that is even more crazy than this one, and we're going to talk about it. But before we do that, we've got one order of business to take care of. Listen, if you like my channel, if you like what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to build a little bit of an audience, so it would really help me out if you would subscribe, if you like it, if you would give me a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment, tell me what you like, tell me how I can improve, because I'm always looking for that sort of feedback. But the other thing you can do, if you are so inclined and have the means, is you can support me on Subscribestar, because believe it or not, I do actually have a day job that does not involve running my mouth on the internet, and in order to do stuff like this, I have to take away time from, doing things that actually pay my mortgage. But this really helps me out and is going to help me continue to dedicate time to doing these videos in the future and creating this type of content. Now, one of the things you get when you contribute to me on Subscribestar, regardless of which level you contribute at, is a shout out in one of my videos. And today, I don't know what's going on, but you guys are really stepping up and supporting this lately. So I have 8 shout outs to give. 8. I couldn't even believe it when I looked at my Subscribestar today. So I have 2 sticky notes with the people who are getting shout outs. So thank you to Patricia, to Kimberly, to Margaret, to Laura, to Charles, to Thomas, to Nicole, and to Brian. Thank you so very much. I really am grateful and humbled by the support, and I promise to do right by you and continue to try to make stuff that you will enjoy. All right, let's get back to the important stuff, shall we? As Biden struggles, Hillary waits for the call. Hillary Clinton continues to hover in the wings, ready to step forward should Joe Biden fail. Then they basically talk about the Emerson polling results. 51% of Bernie supporters are, according to Emerson, open to voting for a third-party candidate. At this point, the public will see what numerous Democrats have noted. Obama's former wingman is struggling with some cognitive decline. And I was actually really excited to see them actually even mention this in the article, because every single Democrat that I've talked to has been like, yeah, I don't really think it's just a stutter. They're just blowing this out of proportion. Or they say something to the effect of, well, Carlin, yeah, I know Joe Biden's not really all there, but Trump has dementia too. So basically it's the same exact thing. It's a wash. What? No. And again, I've said this in other videos, but just in case this is your first one, Trump is on TV for like hours every day. Maybe not every day anymore. They're starting to stagger things a little bit now. But dude is on TV usually every single day for hours a day. He makes complete sense. You might not like what he says, but that is not the same thing as having dementia. He makes sense when he talks. He has clear points that he's articulating. Biden, you can't even understand. Biden cannot talk for more than like 10 minutes without making silly mistakes. He's always using note cards. He's falling asleep on TV during interviews. It is not the same thing, and I'm glad to see that actually be acknowledged here. We really cannot elect a president who mixes up his sister with his wife or who collapses in mid-sentence unsure of what's going on next. Thank you. No, one of the reasons that I'm planning on voting for Trump, at least right now, is not just that the Democrats have pissed me off something fierce and I'm doing it out of extreme spite because I do not want these people to be close to any sort of power at all. I'm also doing it because I cannot reasonably vote for someone for president who clearly has dementia. It makes absolutely no sense to me to vote for someone for the highest office in the land, someone who you need to be on their game when he's clearly struggling. That just makes absolutely no sense to me. That regardless of party or even my beliefs or anything like that, I would much rather have someone who is at least there and can think and can speak, even if I don't always agree with his policies, rather than have someone like Biden, who I'm fairly certain is going to be sleeping all day and not actually doing anything remotely productive. Democrats' obstacle to pushing Biden aside is Sanders. Ooh, but is it? We're actually going to talk about that in the next article we're going to look at, but let's put that aside right now. The independent Vermont senator was runner-up in the primaries and continues to hold on to his delegates, yada, yada, yada. Indeed, it seems clear that party officials are so worried Sanders might stage another run that they canceled the 224 delegate-rich New York State primary. They claimed the vote would have been dangerous in the epicenter of COVID-19, but since they still plan to host a primary for state and local officials, that excuse seems weak, including for AOC. And we're going to see how that goes. I know on my show with Joshua on Tuesday nights called Nothing Remotely Controversial, Joshua's a psychic, and we have fun with it. We don't necessarily take it all that seriously, but we have fun with it. And Joshua psychically predicted that AOC wasn't going to be reelected. So we'll see how that primary goes for her. As the primaries roll forward, especially with officials' thumb on the scales, Biden will almost certainly win the candidacy. In the absence of a brokered convention, how could Democrats replace their standard bearer? One idea has been to convince Biden to step aside in favor of the very popular Michelle Obama, seen as a sure bet to beat Trump. So far, though, the former First Lady has reportedly rebuffed all invitations to enter the fray. I don't remotely think that Michelle Obama is interested in politics at all. I think that this is crazy. Though I did see the other day someone sent me that there is like a draft Michelle website up now, so who knows what's going on, but I don't see Michelle Obama getting into it. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. That leaves Clinton, Hillary Clinton, the savior of the Democratic Party, because it couldn't be anyone else, right? It couldn't be like Pete Buttigieg, who is young and has energy and is thoughtful and is smart. Nope, gotta be Hillary Clinton. And I just don't understand this. I fundamentally don't understand this desire by the Democrats to constantly be going backwards. Going backwards is not inspiring to anyone. And one of the reasons that Donald Trump was elected was because people didn't like what happened when Obama was in office. They didn't like what happened. They didn't like that era. They didn't feel like it served them. It didn't take care of them. It didn't meet their needs. It didn't help them out with their real struggles. So why are we going backwards again? I just don't understand the philosophy. Biden could choose Clinton as his running mate and then step down before the election and allow Hillary to run in his place. Yada, yada. In fact, Clinton talked so much about their shared history in the endorsement that it was easy to forget she was endorsing Biden. It almost sounded as though she was touting her own resume instead, and maybe she was. How would Hillary stack up as a nominee this time around? She certainly looks stronger and more fired up than Biden. A freaking, like a sock puppet would look stronger and more fired up than Joe Biden. She has the energy he lacks. She has a bigger following on social media because we all know the elections are decided on Twitter, right? And has a large devoted following who, like Hillary, still cannot believe she lost in 2016. She could count on former President Obama to campaign for her, as Biden can, and she would have her ever-popular husband Bill helping out. In 2016, Democrats were not wildly excited about her candidacy, but her enthusiasm readings were better than Biden's today, as was her polling in critical battleground states. Listen, man, here's the thing, though. According to this other article we're going to look at, maybe we don't just have Obama campaigning for her. There is actually another option that people are putting forward. And I want to just preface this before we even read this article. These people are insane. This is an insane idea. And I don't know what they're thinking, but I think, it made me laugh today. Listen, I'm about like 3 mimosas deep today. So this made me laugh when I saw it. So whatever. A Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama ticket to replace Joe Biden? Is it even possible? They just never learn. They never learn. Never. It just, come on. Okay, let's read. Desperate times do indeed call for desperate measures for Democrats. A truly desperate time could be if Joe Biden is forced to withdraw from the presidential race. While the former vice president is the presumptive Democratic nominee to face off against Trump in November, his nomination is still far from official. I absolutely believe that Joe Biden is going to be replaced as the nominee. I do not see Joe Biden becoming the nominee in this race. Let's talk about why. Some Democrats tell me they fear Biden's political survival is getting more problematic with each passing day. They cite 3 main issues. 1, their first concern is the allegation of sexual assault leveled against him by Tara Reade, which doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon. Although you gotta love the hypocrisy of all the people who are like, believe all women, believe all women, believe all women, but not that one. Not that one. We don't believe her. She, like, can we just pretend we can't hear her? La 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 la. I mean, please. Next, they worry another shoe could drop in questions related to Biden's son Hunter and his business dealings. Lastly, some Democrats are concerned about Biden's age and possible cognitive issues, a concern that some have also expressed about Trump. I did this article a couple weeks ago on here. 2020 has become the dementia campaign because this is the argument they're making. Well, Biden may have dementia, but Trump has dementia too. Please. For those reasons and a few more, we might envision Biden being privately talked to into retiring from the race and voluntarily doing so himself. Let's assume that happens just before or just after the party's convention in whatever form it held. What would happen then? And this is actually a question I had asked because, if Biden wasn't going to be the nominee, it really seemed to me like the only way to really do this was to slide Bernie in there, which we know the DNC doesn't want to do. But how are they going to replace Biden with just another generic nominee that the DNC hand selects without any input from the voters whatsoever? And like sidebar for a second. I live in New Hampshire. The New Hampshire primary starts a full year before the actual vote, right? We've got politicians running around like a full year before the dang primary. What's the point? I just don't understand the point. Honestly, if the DNC is going to just hand select whatever candidate they want, then what is the point of actually even having a primary process? What is the point? And how do the voters feel about having their votes completely ignored? How do all these volunteers, in New Hampshire, like, volunteering with campaigns is just something that people do. So you've got all these people running around all the time volunteering for these campaigns. How do any of these people feel about having completely wasted their time when the DNC is like, no, primaries don't count anymore. We're going to pick the candidate, which is exactly what we're talking about here. The process is actually straightforward. If Biden quits the race right before the convention, delegates would select a new nominee. Okay, I get that. If he drops out right after the convention, members of the Democratic National Committee would pick the replacement nominee. Come on. Again, and of those two options, that would probably be the one that they would go, right? Because you can't trust the delegates to make the decision for us when we could just hand pick a candidate for ourselves. Who might be in consideration to become the new nominee, and who would be selected as the vice presidential running mate? Several likely combinations come to mind, starting in many minds with Governor Andrew Cuomo, but one in particular, truly out-of-the-box combination, stops the discussion dead in its tracks. Hillary Clinton as the nominee and Barack Obama as her running mate. Yes, this is a serious article in a serious publication. Hillary Obama 2020. Now, before everyone rolls their eyes, I'm glad at least the author anticipated that, let that sink in for a moment and do some fairly simple calculations about voters and swing states in your head. No matter how you add it, subtract it, or divide it, the math could spell trouble for the Trump campaign. Listen, there's an article on Salon.com right now that basically says coronavirus has Trump supporters abandoning him. These people just are always trying to rationalize themselves into a scenario that would cause trouble for Donald Trump. I mean, they make up the craziest stories that have absolutely no basis in reality to feed probably their Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know. Could such a scenario come to pass? If Biden flames out and the Democrats don't want to hand the election to Trump, they would need to do something incredibly creative in a flash. How is going back to literally 2008. How is that the only incredibly creative solution? Can't we, again, I have to ask, why aren't we picking younger people? If we get to a scenario where the DNC can hand select the candidate, whoever they want it to be, then why aren't we picking younger people that are significantly more inspiring than Hillary Clinton and retirement Barack Obama? I just don't get it. So now the hope for the best, prepare for the worst cliche comes into play. While most Democrats hope Biden can survive the scandals nipping at his viability, party leaders need to prepare for the worst, that he drops out. Or is it really the worst if you get to handpick the candidate? Some Democrats have confessed to me that having Biden drop out for whatever reason might not be bad news, since they aren't convinced he can defeat Trump in November. Obviously. And they believe, perhaps a bit wistfully in some respects, that a Clinton-Obama ticket would be a nightmare for Trump. The next obvious question is this: does the Constitution allow Obama's selection as vice presidential running mate given the ambiguous language in the 12th and 22nd Amendments? Let's just keep going down. The operative word here might be elected. If Obama were selected as Clinton's running mate and she has to leave office for any reason, then Obama would succeed her. At least one constitutional expert is on record saying there is nothing to prevent such a scenario. But why would Obama, who has endorsed Biden, ever entertain such a possibility? I can think of two reasons. One, he is seen among liberal never-Trumpers as the one who stepped up to save the nation. The savior. Two, there is no heavy lifting involved. Obama could move into the vice presidential residence at the National Observatory, considered some of the most beautiful, secure grounds in all of Washington, and do as much or as little work as he wanted. Okay, is this really what we're aspiring to? For someone holding elected office and frankly getting paid a government salary that they get to move into a beautiful home and really not work all that much? Okay, I understand the vice president is the superfluous position in the government. I get it, man. But at least Mike Pence, and I can't stand Mike Pence, by the way. I really cannot stand him. There's so many reasons that I'm not going to go into here. But at least he's doing stuff. He's running the coronavirus task force. He's doing his thing. Trump delegates to him an awful lot. At least he's working and he's doing stuff. This is actually very literally a pitch for Obama doesn't really need to do anything. He just needs to be there. He can hang out at home and still pretend he's retired all day. His only real task would be during the campaign to push Hillary Clinton over the finish line. Democrats are literally going for like, what is the lowest possible denominator that we can actually go to? And I remember, and listen, 2008 was a long time ago, and I'm sure I would see things very differently now than I did back then. But at least there was aspiration back then in Obama's candidacy. At least there was hope, change, all that good stuff, propaganda like photos, whatever, but at least it was something aspirational. Now they're literally, I mean, this is very literally digging the bottom of the barrel, right? It's like, let's go to the lowest possible point that we can possibly go to. Well, it won't be Trump. He might not be doing anything, but it won't be Trump. That is literally what they're saying. Some of the smart money may be placed on Joe Biden not becoming the Democratic's nominee after all. And at least in a few minds, it may be time to plan C and O Democrats. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I should we should start like a pool or something, like a raffle on who's actually going to be the Democratic nominee. Maybe there can be a little prize for it. I don't know. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I got nothing left. But you might notice I'm wearing a brand new shawl. I'm very excited about this shawl. I know that was like a shitty transition, right? Whatever. Again, mimosas, okay? I'm wearing a brand new shawl. I'm very excited about this shawl and to tell you all about it because I literally just finished it today. I blocked it really quickly this morning. I love this shawl. It is one of my favorites. It is the Painting Bricks shawl from Westnitz. It's all done in West wool, which is the first time I've ever actually worked with his yarn, and I actually found it to be really, really nice. I've worked with it a couple times with like other projects, but just smaller sections. This whole shawl is made out of West wool. It was fun to knit. It took me like 5 weeks, man. I'm kind of glad it's done, but I really did enjoy it, and it's absolutely beautiful. I've seen so many different amazing versions of this shawl on Instagram, so many different things you can do with it, but super, super fun, super striking. I love it, and I'm happy to be able to show it off to all of you, regardless of if you care about my knitting or not.